Let's go on to we got Hunter Henry for the New England Patriots. Is a great ad. He went out this past week, did pretty well, put up about 15, 16 points for your tight end position, which is always great. That's like a 30 burger for like a wide receiver. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And the tight end position to get 15 points, that's amazing. So yeah, Hunter Henry, if you're gonna, tight ends it's rough, dude. It's rough. It's rough getting a consistent tight end. So if you want to go snag Hunter Henry, I love it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I had Logan Thomas in a couple leagues, so it's kind of going through the waiver wire or just who's on waivers, and it's just like a barren wasteland, especially for the tight end position. It gets pretty rough. But just looking at some of the numbers and in the research, I really liked what Hunter Henry presented, especially in this matchup against the Texans. They're like the worst team in terms of like defending the tight end. So that might be a matchup you can exploit going forward. Just start the tight ends against the Houston Texans. But I mean, the guy finishes with 6 catches on 8 targets, 75 yards. He gets you a touchdown. That's 2 weeks in a row where he's scored a touchdown. This week, going against the Cowboys, they're bottom 10 defense in terms of defending the tight end. And Mike, you say it all the time. A rookie quarterback, his best friend is what?
The tight end position. Big guys who don't have to separate very hard to win the ball. That can catch the ball high, low.
And I think everyone's kind of hyped on Jonnu Smith, seeing what he did last year with the Titans, and he's obviously there. They paid him more money than they paid Hunter Henry. But, I mean, in terms of who's a better receiver, I would say it's Hunter Henry. Jonnu Smith, a good tight end in his own right, too. But I don't know what it is. But just looking at the average depth of target, too, for these guys between Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith has been like a dink and dunk guy. His average target is like 4 yards or something like that, where Hunter Henry's was like 8 yards. So it's like Hunter Henry's kind of the tight end that's stretching the field in a sense, where Jonnu's kind of like the dink and dunk tight end. So yeah, if I'm gonna get one of these guys, that was my thought process. And grabbed Hunter Henry in a couple leagues and started him since, like I said, Logan Thomas was out. That was my thought process. Like, hey, good matchup. Hunter Henry's the guy who's getting the ball down the field, not dink and dunk like Jonnu, and it panned out pretty well. Like you said, he had a monster game right there, and he's played more snaps than Jonnu, and he's got more targets than Jonnu Smith. So yeah, go get me some Hunter Henry, and I'll see if this turns into a thing.
Yeah, and the Patriots are one team that they don't care how much they pay you. I mean, they sat what's his name in the Super Bowl. What the fuck was his name?
Malcolm Butler.
Yeah, they sat Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
that doesn't tell you anything. It's not an AVG podcast if we don't got dogs barking. All right, let's go into Dan Arnold for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Trevor Lawrence's best friend.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, what did we say a second ago?
Rookie quarterbacks, yeah. Love the tight end position. So Dan Arnold, obviously, 2 weeks ago, got traded to the Jaguars. Pick him up.
Pick him up. I mean, yeah, I like Dan Arnold, especially DJ Chark going down. I mean, like I said, he just got there 2 weeks ago. It's only his second game as a Jacksonville Jaguar, but he led all Jaguars tight ends in snaps, 73% of the snaps. Gets you 6 catches for 64 yards on 8 targets. He actually led the team in targets last week. And, something that's just kind of reassuring or give you some confidence in Dan Arnold is, I think it was maybe his first or second catch. He comes out there, catches a little pass. He fumbled. So instead of going in the doghouse and thinking like, oh, I'm not going to – this guy fumbled, especially because it was like a fumble, scoop and score. Like the Titans picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown. Instead of like shying away from him, they kept going back to him. They're like, hey, this is our guy. And me, I'm a big guy where if you go get someone in free agency, you go get somebody via trade, like it's because you're personally targeting this player to get him on your team because you have plans to utilize that player going forward. And obviously James O'Shaughnessy goes down. He's on IR. He's out for the season. They obviously weren't comfortable with the tight ends that they had, so they went out and made a move to get Dan Arnold. And they traded away the cornerback they had that they drafted in the first round. I think it was like 2 years ago. So that should just speak volume as well. It's like, hey, 2 years ago they drafted a cornerback in the first round, which means they valued that player pretty highly to draft them in the first round. They felt comfortable enough to now trade that player for Dan Arnold. So that should just show you how much they view Dan Arnold and what he's able to bring to the table for the Jacksonville Jaguars in this passing attack. So, yeah, I do like Dan Arnold. Like you said, rookie quarterbacks, they do, for whatever reason, they do like to target the tight end position. Maybe it's just easier, shorter routes, kind of like a check down guy. But I mean, this guy's he's big boy. So,
Big boy.
And he's basically just like an oversized wide receiver. If you can watch on YouTube or just look at some Dan Arnold highlights, like he's not your basic tight end. Obviously, he's big enough to block, but I mean, the guy is just an oversized wide receiver.
Yeah.
He's really, really tall. He's got to be like, 6'7", something like that?
He's like 6'5", 500 pounds.
Dude, that's huge. But yeah, I do like Dan Arnold if you're in a tight end pinch right here.
Yeah.
Pick him up.
Pick him up.
I don't want to have to talk about Dan Arnold again next week.
Me neither.
Right? So I'm just not going to even throw him in there. But
David Njoku for the Cleveland Browns. Sell me. What happened to Austin Hooper Scooper, guys? I thought, remember like 2 years ago or whenever last year when they got Austin Hooper and everybody was like, oh, he's going to be the best.
Yeah, so I threw him in here because I don't like this pickup, and I don't want people to run to the waiver wire thinking like, oh, grab this guy. And I could be wrong. Maybe we're finally starting to see it. I mean, it only took like 8 years for the Cordero Patterson experience to finally come true. So could this finally be the the season that David Njoku breaks out? I mean, maybe, but I would be betting on the opposite side of no, I do not think so. I mean, there's still 3 tight ends there in Cleveland. They utilize Harrison Bryant, Austin Hooper Scooper, and David Njoku. I mean, he does have a monster game, 7 catches, 149 yards. It gets you a touchdown on the long play he had there. But, for what it's worth, no Jarvis Landry. He's still banged up. Odell came back. Even though Odell didn't do very good, he only had 3 targets last game. But there's only one player on the Cleveland Browns that has 20 or more targets. Can you guess what player that is?
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Kareem Hunt.
Oh, okay.
So the running back Kareem Hunt leads the team in targets with 21. He's the only player to have over 20 targets.
That's pretty wild.
Then there's 6 other players that have 10 to 19 targets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Baker's just like spreading it out. Like, he's not gunning on one guy. It's not like David Njoku's getting hyper efficient. I mean, I get it. He had a monster game. Maybe that was just a matchup that they liked, and that was obviously part of their game plan coming into this matchup. But, also how many times are they going to score 40-something points a week? So I think when Landry comes back, Odell obviously isn't going to see 3 targets a game. The 2 games prior to that, 9 targets and 7 targets for Odell. As much as I hate him, you would think that he's going to get utilized more in this offense. So, yeah, I would not be rushing to get David Njoku. Give me Hunter Henry. Give me Dan Arnold. So that's kind of why I wanted to throw David Njoku into this mix here.
Did you see the stat? Teams that scored 5 touchdowns over, what was it, over 500 yards or 400 yards and over 40 points are 401 to 0, like their win-loss ratio, and then the Browns were the first team to lose.
Yeah. I was surprised at the score of that game. I did not think it was going to be like that, to be honest. So
I think that's like the Chargers, too. The Chargers are like that. The Chargers just put up points. Chargers are like this year's Chiefs. I said what I said. Anyways, let's go on to the next tight end position. Ricky SealsJones. Ricky SealsJones for the Washington football team. Connects a little bit with Taylor Heineke. We were super excited about Logan Thomas. So now, I mean, should we just get excited for Ricky SealsJones?
I mean, the matchup's pretty good, and for what it's worth, then just look at some of these numbers here for Ricky SealsJones filling in for Logan Thomas. He played 82 of the 83 snaps. That's ridiculous. And where he lined up 43% of those snaps in the slot, 10% lined up wide. He ran a route on 46 of Heineke's 53 dropbacks. He had 8 targets, so it was a 20% target share. He finishes with 5 catches and 41 yards.
8 targets as a tight end is good.
That's, as you would say, horny.
Horny.
Yes.
Capital H.
I mean, the guy's going to be on the field a ton. Like I said, if we were kind of like hyped on Heineke to be a potential streamer this week in a matchup against the Chiefs, I think it was like another stat I saw. Like the Chiefs have given up like 30 or more points every single game. I could be wrong on this one. And then the Washington football team has given up 30 or more points in every single game so far this season. So should be a lot of points being scored in this matchup if it's that those trends are going to continue. So, yeah, I mean, he's kind of a break glass in case of emergency tight end, in my opinion. But like I said, maybe you need a tight end. You're struggling. Maybe you have. I mean, with some of these guys, Kittle's on a bye. You got Kyle Pitts on a bye. So maybe you just need somebody out there. And I mean, I would rather have Ricky Seals over Njoku.
Yeah, I'd rather have Ricky Seals. Rather have Gesicki. Yeah,
I mean, it's you're saying like the guy's out there a ton. He's getting targeted, and in a matchup where should be a lot of points scored. I'm not mad at taking a shot at him. And if you're in DFS, he's probably dirt cheap. You just throw him in your lineup. DFS. So.
Hey, did you like that video? No, not the one of Big Ben completely eating shit when nobody even touched him. I'm talking about our fantasy football video we just did. You just watched. Well, guess what? That was just a clip from the full audio podcast. So if you want to check out the whole thing, links down below. AVG Fantasy Football Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, all of them. Anywhere you can get audio podcasts, we're there. Go ahead and check it out. And if you don't want to look at your fantasy team to look the way Big Ben does right here, wait for it. Come on, replay. This is your fantasy team. But that won't be your fantasy team if you subscribe to AVG Fantasy Football. So go ahead, subscribe and like this video. Subscribe to the channel and like.